So today is the day before our Govardhan Puja festival. And there is so much to cover about Giriraj Govardhan. I started reading today Srila Prabhupada's Krishna book. I always like to do that on these special occasions. And his narration is always so very informative and also beautifully presented in such a way that you can easily quickly enter into the pastimes of Krishna. Very sweet. So I was reading the first chapter of that. There are 4 chapters, and and appreciating so much. Then also today, Haribol, some kind of Haribol.
Some echo?
Maybe not an echo, but
it might be
like a little.
The sound picks up on the mic and comes out.
Hare Krishna, Hari Hari, Haribol.
So a little too loud, maybe.
Haribol, Haribol. No, that's too loud. Hare Krishna, Haribol. Yeah, that's better. Okay. Hare Krishna. So, we've also got other literatures that our acharyas have written. We've got the Srimad Bhagavatam itself, and we also have the commentary of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, which is always very, very interesting to read. His commentary, when you're reading the chapters and the verses, then you read his commentary, his purport. And then we've also got the beautiful scripture written by Srila Kavi Karanapur called Ananda Vrindavan Champu. And that is amazing. I would like someday to see the Sanskrit as well. Because we only have the English version. And the thing is, even though we have the translation, but the original Sanskrit version must be completely stunning, because the way he composes his verses in English, there are many poetical devices that he uses, and sometimes in verse after verse, he'll be listing like a comparison, a metaphorical comparison to some object or personality in Vrindavan. And he'll describe them in that verse in 3 different ways. Like that. Could be like this, or like this, or like this. And the thing is that it's not just what he's saying, but in the Sanskrit, then you'll probably notice when you read the original Sanskrit that he's used so many alliterations, and the usage of the wording and the sound vibration of each word that he selects. That's also a very important part of it, And I always like to relish as much as I'm able, to relish the original verses. And then if there's an opportunity to see the synonyms, then that's also nice. But even sometimes, we've got so many literatures now that don't have synonyms, but they have the original Sanskrit and then they have the translation, But I enjoy very much to read those and then to look at it and see, well, how did he compose this? And sometimes you can pick it out, because we've been reading Sanskrit for decades. So many words are familiar, and then sometimes you can pick it out in the verse. So, like Prabodhananda Saraswati Pad, his Sanskrit and his composition, wow. So, anyway, we have the Ananda Vrindavan Champu, and then we have the great Srila Jiva Goswami Pad, Gopal Champu. Like one of the ultimate scriptures, composed by Jiva Goswami, who was considered to be so like the Siddhanta Acharya. And we have that in our Damodar Ashtakam book, where they put it in the appendix of the book. The story that Gurudev told us himself, how he was reading Gopal Champu when he was younger, and he was so amazed by the description of Jiva Goswami, especially of the Damodar Leela, Jiva Goswami's description of that. And so much so, he was so overwhelmed by that, he went to his Guru Maharaj. He said, "Oh, Guru Maharaj, I'm so amazed. How rasik is Srila Jiva Goswami. He's very, very, siddhanta and tattva and philosophical. But here I'm seeing how rasik he is." And then Gurudev began to Haribol, Gyalaprabhu. So then he began to read to Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj what he was reading. And then he said his Guru Maharaj began loudly weeping and weeping. And that description is in the back of our Damodar Ashtakam book. It's one of the appendix, And that was the description of how towards the end of the Leela, when they were trying to unite Krishna with Mother Yashoda, and how, they kept on trying to encourage Krishna that he should go to Mother Yashoda.
We have that here, the little booklet by Srila Jiva Goswami in the library.
By Jiva Goswami. You mean
what you're talking about?
Gopal Champu you're talking about?
No, this story, there's like a little booklet in the library by Srila Jiva Goswami that describes the little back and forth.
I don't know about that one. But we have, like I said, we have that description in our Damodar Ashtakam book. So it's there. Anyway, the Gopal Champu, there's so much vast description of each and every one of Krishna's pastimes in Braj, also in Mathura, also in Dwarka, in that Gopal Champu. But in Ananda Vrindavan Champu, Kavi Karnapur, his whole mood was he did not want to disturb the sweetness of the Braj Leelas, so he didn't go even up to the point where a Krur comes and takes Krishna out of Vrindavan, so-called takes Krishna out of Vrindavan. Yeah, so much material is there for Govardhan. What to speak of the Braj Mandala Parikrama book? So I kept on thinking to myself, now we've come to Radha Kund description in the Braj Mandala Parikrama book, and also just after that will be the entire Govardhan. It's pretty long, but I thought that because we have the festival tomorrow, and there's only so much time to hear the whole Govardhan Leela, so that's really, and then after that festival, then we can again resume the Braj Mandala Parikrama book. We've also got the two festivals, Tuesday and Wednesday, Srila Vaman Maharaj, Trivakara Maharaj disappearance and Srila Prabhupada disappearance. And that completes, these special days on our Vaishnava calendar. So then we'll be able to continue to the end of Kartik with the Braj Mandala Parikrama and try to see if we can actually do the whole Parikrama by reading the book. We'll see if that's possible. So is that okay?
Yeah.
And I want to extract a few places, like I was just reading in the Ananda Vrindavan Champu, the first description of Govardhan, not very long, description of Govardhan, because in the beginning of the book, Kavi Karnapur is describing all the forests of Vrindavan very elaborately, and then he's also describing all the seasons, how they manifest in the forests of Vrindavan, and then different places like Nandishwar, Varshana, and Govardhan, and he's describing. So I'll read that. We'll do that for our class. And then tomorrow, of course, we have the festival, which probably around 10 o'clock or so. Is that when we're going to be going there?
Probably 11.
11? So we'll have Katha in the morning. before the Govardhan puja that we do over there, and then in the evening. So those 2 times. But we have the early morning class as well, so Vaikanas Maharaj can also give some Katha on the Govardhan.
Normally, Maharaj, I think we'll do the morning class here, and then at 9, and then around 11, people go there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so the morning
and the class, and then there's class there.
There's class there.
Yeah.
Well, like informally, you know, like what
In front of
the Govardhan.
Yeah, that's not a class usually. Like during the festival time.
Yeah, exactly. Like
it's the puja.
Yeah.
Doing the puja. And then a couple of things like someone dressed up as Krishna. I don't know if you're going to do that at this time of the year. But climbing up onto the top. So, Anore! Yeah. Okay. Gurve Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Itadalaya Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadbhaktaya Namo Namaha. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Mukam Karoti Vachalam Amdum Langayate Girim Yat Kripatamaham Vande Shri Gurun Dinataranam Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Namo Mahabhadanaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gaura Trishe Nama Nityanandam Namastubhyam Premananda Pradayane Kalau Kalmashanashaya Janava Pataye Nama Ajanulambita Bujo Kanakavadato Samkirtanaika Pitaro Kamalaya Taksho Vishwambaro Dvijavaro Jugadharma Palo Bande Jagat Priyakaro Karanavataro. He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Jayatam Shruto Pangor Mama Mandamater Gati Vatsarvasvapadam Bojo Radha Madanamohano Divyad Vrindaranya Kalpadrumadha Srimad Ratnagara Singhasanasto Srimad Radha Shula Govinda Devo Prishtalibhi Sevyamano Smarami Shriman Rasarasarambhi Vam Shivata Tatakstitaha Karshanavenu Sanair Gopir Gopinata Shriyestunaha Angashyamali Machatavirabito Mandi Kritendivaram Jadyam Jagudorochisam Vidadatam Pattam Varasya Shriya Vrindaranya Nivasanam Hridilasad Damabhiramodaram Radha Skanda Niveshito Bhujam Dhyayem Damodaram. Bhaktya vihina aparadha lakshai Kshiptascha kamadi tarangamadye Kripamai tvam sharanam prapanna Vrinde namaste charanadavindam Vrindai tulsi divai priyai keshavasya cha Krishna bhakti prade devi satyavachai namo namaha Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhaktarupa Swarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. I'm offering my unlimited Dandavat pranams and my Shraddha Pushpanjali at the lotus feet of my most worshipable beloved Gurudev, Nitya Leela Pravishta Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Asto Tarasata Sri Srila A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada. And I'm offering my same unlimited Dandavat pranams and my Shraddha Pushpanjali at the lotus feet of my most worshipable beloved Siksha Gurudevs, Nitya Leela Pravishta Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Asto Tarashata Sri Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Goswami Maharaj and Nitya Leela Pravishta Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Asto Tarashata Sri Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And my unlimited Dandavat pranams to the lotus feet of all of my Sri Sri Rupa Nuga Guru Varga. My Dandavat pranams to all the Vaishnavas and all the Vaishnavas. So tomorrow being the day when we observe the annual event of Sri Govardhan Puja, Annakut festival. What does Annakut mean? Huh? What does Anna mean?
Grains. Food
grains. It's not coming. Why? Oh, okay. So Anna means food grains, and Kut. What does Kut mean?
Seed?
No?
Grass?
No?
No.
Like the festival.
What? No?
Mountain?
Hill.
Hill.
Ah.
Kut means hill. Annakut. Hill of foodstuffs. And these foodstuffs were told by Sri Krishna himself, the young cowherd boy, to his father and to all the Brijvasis, after he had convinced them that you don't need to worship Indra. Why? Because his father everyone was very busy. they were performing many activities, yajnas, and gathering together ingredients, and so much activity going on. Krishna asked his father, "Oh, what is happening? What are you doing? Looks like you're preparing for some big festival. Can you tell me, what is this festival?" So Nanda Maharaj began to explain to Krishna that this is our annual festival. And we perform this sacrifice to Lord Indra. And then Krishna was asking, is this just some kind of custom? Just some kind of village custom? Or is there some deep meaning? What is the purpose that you're performing this for? And what is your expectation of the result? So he began to ask like this. And Nanda Maharaj began to explain to Krishna that, this festival is very important because Lord Indra, he is the supplier of rain, and we depend very much upon rain. We are cowherd people. We need fresh grasses, and we need water, and our agricultural activities. So, therefore, we're performing this function for Indra to be pleased, so that he continues to supply rain and so forth. So then Krishna heard this explanation, and he began to gradually, with a number of different arguments, show that in actuality there's no need to worship Indra. He just belittled Indra's position in so many different ways.
In the ocean, and they don't do any puja there.
That's right, yeah. And he also took the position of a karmakandi and a karma mimamsa philosopher, that actually everything depends on work. And work is the ultimate truth. The activity that you perform, and then the result is bound to come. What has that got to do with Indra? Yes. And of course, Krishna was very aware. I was reading Prabhupada's Krishna book this morning. Krishna was aware that Indra was becoming very puffed up. So he wanted to diminish Indra's pride. He wanted to crush his pride, which Krishna actually does for all of his devotees. Krishna, when he sees that his devotees are full of false pride, he arranges a way by which that pride will be thrown out. Because anyone that has false pride, they cannot approach the absolute truth. Not possible. If they have false conception, misunderstanding of tattva, they're ignorant, completely absorbed in the bodily conception. There are so many different anarthas. But pride is, in the words of Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj, pride is actually our greatest enemy. And pride is also rooted in the desire for pratishtha. That is the most subtle of all the desires. That's pointed out clearly by Srila Raghunath Das Goswami in the Manasiksha. So, that pride can only be diminished when one is under the guidance and shelter of a very great general of Sri Krishna's army. That's how Raghunath Das Goswami puts it. Sada sevasva tvam prabhudayata samantam atulam. The incomparable generals, samantam means general, of Sri Krishna's army. And that means the Mahabhagwat, Vaishnavas especially in our Rupa Nuga line. Only they can cast out this desire for pratishtha, which is compared to what?
Female tigress.
Donkey urine?
No, that's the previous verse before that. Swapacha ramani me hridi natate. Swapacha means dog eating. Ramani means woman. Dog eating, outcast woman who is audaciously dancing in my heart. This is how Raghunath Das Goswami puts it. Dog eating, from the caste of dog eaters. Very low grade. Low grade. So this low grade outcast woman is dancing, and what is she? She is this desire for pratishtha. Pratishtha asha drishta swapacha ramani. Pratishtha asha. Now, a lot of times devotees use the word pratishtha as being this desire for pratishtha. No, but there's a difference. Pratishtha in itself is not bad. Pratishtha means that you are given some kind of notoriety, some special recognition, some position wherein you attract the attention of personalities who appreciate your leadership, your qualities. They want to come under your guidance. Okay, so pratishtha is necessary for preaching. We want that, the attention of the public will be drawn toward Krishna, toward our Guru, toward the Vedic knowledge. So we want to represent in such a dignified way that they will be attracted. But when someone has this pratishtha asha means desire. That is very bad. In quite a number of places you'll find Sanatana Goswami and Hari Bhakti Vilas describing this as the stool of a pig, of a hog. That's what it's compared to. One should always keep such thing far away. So this has to be overcome for the sadhaks. Otherwise it will never be possible to enter into praying.
So pratishtha is like a position.
Yes, pratishtha means that you're given praise. Labh puja pratishtha adi. Labh means the desire for material gain in any shape and form. Labh. Puja means, Srila Prabhupada used the word adoration, puja, but actually it means all the mundane relationships in this world which are giving this sense of society, friendship, and love. You see? Family, friendship, love. All of these material is not spiritual. These are material, puja. And people become so much enwrapped in this. They become actually bound up, like in a cocoon, by this. So these three, Labh, Puja, Pratishtha. Sometimes it's also listed as Kanaka, Kamini, and Pratishtha. Kanaka, Kamini, Pratishtha, Bhagini. That means like the witch. Kanaka means wealth. Kamini means enjoying calm in the form of woman, or for the woman in the form of man, family, children, society, calm, material lust, material desire. And finally, pratishtha. Pratishtha adi, meaning beginning with pratishtha. So Krishna always finds a way to remove the unfavorable things from the hearts of his devotees. And he will do this. But we have to be willing to surrender. We can't do it on our own. We can try, but it will not be successful. Krishna can do it, and he can arrange every situation in order to accomplish his purposes. He's very good at that because he happens to be in every single atomic particle, and he's the supreme controller of every living entity. So for him to arrange whatever is required, he's very good at doing that. And he does it, and he will do it. And if any devotee wants to go to Krishna and have pure love for Krishna, they should be ready. That's why detachment is very, very important. But detachment is not possible without cultivating bhakti and attachment, the positive. It's not possible to just... In his, you've probably heard his record album, one of the first ones that he recorded. Sometimes it's called Happening Album, where, you know, he sings the Hare Krishna mantra, and then he also reads a lecture that he wrote on chanting Hare Krishna. Right? So there he's saying that we are all trying to exploit the resources of material nature, but actually we are becoming more and more entangled in her complexities. Remember that?
Great speech.
So we are trying to exploit. He's using the term exploit. And exploit means to enjoy with our five senses, the objects of the senses in this world. That's the whole business of the jivas in the material world, from Lord Brahma down to the ant, down to the tiny microbial life forms. But actually, Krishna's the exploiter. He's the enjoyer. It all belongs to him. He has the right to exploit everyone and everything for his satisfaction. But his exploitation is all good, all pure, all beneficial for everyone. The more you become exploited by Krishna, the more glorious your position becomes. Like the gopis. So, Lord Indra is a very exalted personality in our universe. He's not an ordinary soul. He's in a very high position because he's actually a Vaishnava. He is a Vaishnava. These higher demigods, they're very exalted personalities, but they're jivas, right? And he is entrusted in the department of the universe to have certain jurisdiction, the extent of his powers and so forth. We can't quite imagine what it is to be a demigod, where, you know, you are the rightful enjoyer of the yajnas and sacrifices that people do to worship. But if they lose their awareness, then actually they're just subordinate to the Supreme Controller. Jai Shri Shri Guru Gauranga Gandharika Giridhari Shri Shri Radha Govinda Jiva Ki Jai. Sometimes they forget. There's a lot of stories of Lord Indra in particular. But he's a devotee. And Krishna saw, no, he's become very puffed up. I'm going to crush his pride. But that was not Krishna's only purpose. Krishna's purpose was to enjoy the ultimate festival and to establish Giriraj Govardhan, who is non-different than Krishna, to establish his worship for all time. Our Gurudev has extolled the glories of Govardhan, even to the extent of saying that Govardhan has been manifested from the heart of Srimati Radharani. Can we imagine the position of Giriraj Govardhan? So, we will here right now, just to begin glorification of Govardhan, we'll hear from Srila Kavi Karnapur, his explanation of the glories of Govardhan. in the beginning of his Ananda Vrindavan Champu. This is coming after very extensive poetical description of all the forests of Vrindavan, and all the flowers and the trees and the cottages and the dangling flower creepers. Okay, actually I'll read a little bit of that just to warm us up to hear Giriraj. All right, and also Yamuna Devi. Yeah, he glorifies Yamuna. Wow. When I see one part, then I just want, there's so much here. Just read this. Yamuna is resplendent with a multicolored bodice composed of the many tiny Shaivala creepers floating on her surface. The male and female Chakravaka birds form her breasts. Her colorful dress is composed of the pollen from white lotuses. A swarm of meandering bumblebees serves as her hair braid. She has blue lotus eyes, red lotus lips, and a face of blooming lotuses. Her hips are her wide banks, decorated with a belt of hirans. Sonorous geese sing as her ankle bells. Yamuna Devi, the personification of bliss, worships Krishna by constantly offering him lotus flowers with her fickle, wave-like hands. The flower-filled trees on her banks reflect in the water to appear like a second blossoming forest. Seeing the reflections of birds in the water, the foolish fish come there and nibble at them. At night, when they see the reflections of the stars on the water, the small fish, mistaking them for food, swim up to the surface and try to eat them. The shimmering white banks of the Yamuna appear like streams of camphor, or attractive lightning flashing in the dark, or sandalwood paste smeared on the limbs of Vrinda Devi, or malati garlands in the braid of a woman. See what I mean about it appears like this or like this? He gives like 4, 5 different metaphors. Yes. On these banks stand flower beds situated between emerald green strips of grass. Attractive kunjas and many beautiful sub-forests containing Chintamani cottages also line the Yamuna's banks. Parrots, cuckoos, chakoras, and water birds such as ducks, hirans, sararis, kuraris, and chakravakas. They move about the courtyards surrounding these Chintamani cottages, singing happily. They appear like a group of Rasik devotees discussing the delightful pastimes of Krishna. Bathing ghats made of rubies, coral, emeralds, and Vaidurya gems line the Yamuna's shores. These ghats appear like the embodiment of auspiciousness. The 4 tall trees forming the corners of the forest cottages have many leafy branches that hang down to make natural canopies. 2 creepers wind around each of these trees to appear like a pair of embracing lovers. The creepers entangle with their flowers, leaves, and fruits to make a wonderful sight. Flowering creepers comprise the walls of the pastime cottages. The entwined branches of various creepers form the cottage doors that are surrounded by other fragrant creepers. Varieties of colorful flowers hang down to make the domes above the cottages, and dangling flower creepers move as natural chamara fans. So that's the end of his description of Yamuna Devi. Now, the glories of Govardhan. An exquisite line of mountains called Govardhan stretches down the middle of Vrindavan. Giri Raja's thousands of peaks appear like the thousands of hands and feet of the Purusha avatar. Many smaller hills surround these peaks, and many jeweled plateaus and lakes like Radhakunda, they provide additional beauty. In this way, Giriraj appears just like a romantic hero, decorated with many jeweled bracelets and earrings. And just as Giriraj contains many minerals, dhatus, of red clay and arsenics, similarly, the Sanskrit language features a variety of word roots called dhatus. By the Lord's grace, Dhruva traveled beyond Maharloka, and similarly, by the mercy of the Lord, Govardhan has surpassed the splendor of Vaikuntha and become famous as the best of mountains. Just as Kartikeya, the commander, who is difficult to conquer, supports the King of Heaven, Govardhan also holds many difficult to enter caves. Many snakes surround the valuable sandalwood trees adorning the Malaya mountain. But there are no snakes guarding the unlimited treasures found on Govardhan Hill. Lord Shiva holds the moon in his top knot, but Giriraja's peaks touch the moon. Shiva is fearsome, but Govardhan is kind and gentle. As Krishna is adorned with forest garlands that reach to his ankles, Govardhan is decorated with long lines of forests. Can you take the phone conversation into the other room? Hansagati Prabhu, can you take the phone conversation into the other room in the back? As Krishna is adorned with forest garlands that reach to his ankles, Govardhan is decorated with long lines of forests. Cascading waterfalls caress all sides of Govardhan. Bhumandala is made pleasant by the Loka mountain range, whereas Govardhan pleases the eyes of all devotees. Govardhan is made glorious by banyan trees that distribute joy to everyone. The interiors of its caves are the embodiments of bliss. It is Govardhan's nature to protect the deer and the other forest creatures. Mount Kailas, Mount Mem, it says, I don't know. Mount Mem, Mount Kailas, or even the best of the metaphors, they cannot compare with the unlimited glories of Govardhan. Kailas is composed of silver and golden Mount Meru, born of the material nature. They pale in comparison with Govardhan, which is eternally manifested and made of inconceivably precious jewels. Just as dancers enhance the sweetness of theatrical performances, the Sonalu trees increase the sweetness of seeing Govardhan Hill. The streams flowing by the roots of the many sandalwood trees growing there, they pick up the divine fragrance and pass it on to the valleys and the grass growing on Govardhan. When all the different animals such as Rums, Chamara, Gavayas, Gandharvas, Shrimaras, Rohisas, Sasa, and Sambaras, when all these different animals bathe in the parrot green colored streams flowing under the densely foliated green trees, they appear to be made of emeralds. No one can tell whether they are real animals or they are made out of green jewels. The crystal rocks of Govardhan reflect the blue rays of its sapphires to the ear like Balaram dressed in blue cloth. The large emeralds reflecting the golden rocks look like Narayan adorned in his golden dhoti. The yellow sapphire platforms standing on beds of diamonds appear like Shiva and Gauri. The waterfalls pouring over the emerald cliffs look like Lord Ram carrying his curved bow. The ruby platforms standing on silver bases appear like Brahma mounted on his swan. The clear waterfalls rapidly falling from the tall peaks of Govardhan carry the reflections of many multicolored jewels and appear like long rainbows. The light coming from the various stones and jewels in the plateaus reflect in the sky like a rainbow. The effulgence from the peaks of Vaidurya gems appears like the tail of a comet streaking over Govardhan, or like a flock of flying gray birds. Govardhan offers many thrones made of cooling stones for the sitting pleasure of Krishna. Its flat, jewel-studded areas await to serve Krishna's rasa dance. Its wonderful caves look more enchanting than temples made of jewels. For serving Krishna, there are many flower canopies that pour down fragrant pollen when shaken by the wind. The dense, cool forests provide soothing relief from the hot sun, and animals such as deer and tigers live there in peace and harmony. So this is the poetical description of Srila Kavi Karnapur to introduce Govardhan amongst all the forests of Vrindavan and Braj Mandala. Yes. So now I want to go to Srila Prabhupada's Krishna book. And where I was reading, after okay, so in the chapter where Krishna began to inquire about the Govardhan Puja from Nanda Maharaj, by the end of that chapter, he began to direct all the Brajbasis, right? And you should prepare so many preparations. I'll read what he said. Yes. So, here's what Krishna told to Nanda Maharaj and the Brijvasis. He said, "My dear father, don't delay." Because Nanda Maharaj suggested, well, we can perform a sacrifice for Govardhan and also continue with our sacrifice that we're preparing for Indra. "My dear boy, since you are asking, I shall arrange for a separate sacrifice for the local Brahmins and Govardhan Hill. But for the present, let me execute this sacrifice known as Indra Yagya." So then when Nanda Maharaj told that to Krishna, then Krishna replied, "My dear father, don't delay. The sacrifice you propose for Govardhan and the local Brahmins will take much time. Better to take the arrangement and the paraphernalia that you have already made for sacrificing the Indra Yagya and immediately engage it to satisfy Govardhan Hill and the local Brahmins." So Maharaj Nanda finally relented. The cowherd men then inquired from Krishna how he wanted the yagya to be performed. And then Krishna gave them the following directions. "Prepare very nice foodstuffs of all descriptions from the grains and the ghee collected for the yagya. Prepare rice, dal, then halva, pakora, puri, and all kinds of milk preparations like sweet rice, sweet balls, sandesh, rasgulla, and laddu. And invite the learned Brahmins who can chant the Vedic hymns and offer oblations to the fire. The Brahmins should be given all kinds of grains in charity. Then decorate all the cows and feed them well. After performing this, give money in charity to the Brahmanas. And as far as the lower animals are concerned, such as the dogs, and the lower grades of people, such as the chandalas, or the fifth class of men who are considered untouchable, they also may be given sumptuous prasadam. And after giving nice grasses to the cows, the sacrifice known as Govardhan Puja may immediately begin. And this sacrifice will very much satisfy me. Now in this statement, Lord Krishna practically described the whole economy of the Vaishya community. In all communities of human society and in the animal kingdom amongst the cows, the dogs, goats, etc., everyone has his part to play. Each is to work in cooperation for the total benefit of all society, which includes not only animate objects, but also inanimate objects like hills and land. The Vaishya community is specifically responsible for the economic improvement of the society by producing grains, by giving protection to the cows, by transporting food when needed, and by banking and finance. So from this statement, we learn also that the cats and dogs, although not so important, they are not to be neglected. Cow protection is actually more important than protection of cats and dogs. Another hint that we get from this statement is that the chandalas, or the untouchables, are also not to be neglected by the higher classes. Everyone is important, but some are directly responsible for the advancement of human society, and some are only indirectly responsible. However, when Krishna consciousness is there, then everyone's total benefit is taken care of. See how Prabhupada puts things so wonderfully. And every bit of it is true. So, the sacrifice known as Govardhan Puja is observed in the Krishna consciousness movement. Lord Chaitanya has recommended that since Krishna is worshipable, so his land, Vrindavan, and Govardhan Hill are also worshipable. To confirm this statement, Lord Krishna said that Govardhan Puja is as good as worship of him. And from that day, the Govardhan Puja has been still going on and is known as Annakut. In all the temples of Vrindavan or outside of Vrindavan, huge quantities of food are prepared in this ceremony and are very sumptuously distributed to the general population. Sometimes the food is thrown to the crowds, and they enjoy collecting it off the ground. From these instances, we can understand that prasadam offered to Krishna never becomes polluted or contaminated, even if it is thrown on the ground. The people therefore collect it, and they eat it with great satisfaction. So the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, therefore he advised the cowherd men to stop the Indra Yagya and to begin the Govardhan Puja in order to chastise Indra, who was very much puffed up at being the supreme controller of the heavenly planets. The honest and the simple cowherd men, headed by Nanda Maharaj, accepted Krishna's proposal, and they executed in detail everything he advised. They performed Govardhan worship and circumambulation of the hill. So following the inauguration of Govardhan Puja, people in Vrindavan, they still dress nicely and they assemble near Govardhan Hill to offer worship and circumambulate the hill, leading their cows all around. According to the instruction of Lord Krishna, Nanda Maharaj and the cowherd men called in learned Brahmins, and they began to worship Govardhan Hill by chanting Vedic hymns and offering prasadam. The inhabitants of Vrindavan assembled together. They decorated their cows and they gave them grass. And keeping the cows in front, they began to circumambulate Govardhan Hill. The gopis also dressed themselves very luxuriantly, and they sat in the bull-driven carts, chanting the glories of Krishna's pastimes. Assembled there to act as priests for the Govardhan Puja, the Brahmins offered their blessings to the cowherd men and their wives, the gopis. And when everything was complete, then what did Krishna do? Krishna assumed a great transcendental form, and he declared to the inhabitants of Vrindavan that he was himself Govardhan Hill, in order to convince the devotees that Govardhan Hill and Krishna himself are identical. Then Krishna began to eat all the food offered there, right, in his large form. So the identity of Krishna and Govardhan Hill is still honored. And great devotees take rocks from Govardhan Hill and they worship them exactly as they worship the deity of Krishna in the temples. Devotees therefore collect small rocks or pebbles from Govardhan Hill and they worship them at home, because this worship is as good as deity worship. The form of Krishna, who began to eat the offerings, was separately constituted, and Krishna himself, along with the other inhabitants of Vrindavan, began to offer obeisances to the deity as well as Govardhan Hill. In offering obeisances to the huge form of Krishna himself and Govardhan Hill, then Krishna declared, "Just see how Govardhan Hill has assumed this huge form and is favoring us by accepting all the offerings." Then Krishna also declared at that meeting, "One who neglects the worship of Govardhan Puja, as I am personally conducting it, will not be happy. There are many snakes on Govardhan Hill, and persons neglecting the prescribed duty of Govardhan Puja will be bitten by these snakes and killed. In order to assure the good fortune of the cows and themselves, all people of Vrindavan near Govardhan must worship the hill as prescribed by me." So thus performing the Govardhan Puja sacrifice, all the inhabitants of Vrindavan followed the instructions of Krishna, the son, here it says the son of Vasudeva, and afterwards they returned to their respective homes. So after that, when Indra understood that the sacrifice offered by the cowherd men in Vrindavan was stopped by Krishna, are you ready?
Yeah, whenever you're ready, Mark.
Okay, just a few more minutes then. So when he understood that it was stopped by the cowherd men in Vrindavan, and it was stopped by Krishna, then Indra became very angry. And he vented his anger upon the inhabitants of Vrindavan who were headed by Nanda Maharaj, although Indra knew perfectly well that Krishna was the person personally protecting them. As the director of different kinds of clouds, Indra called for the Samvartaka. This cloud is invited when there is a need to devastate the whole cosmic manifestation. The Samvartaka was ordered by Indra to go over Vrindavan and inundate the whole area with an extensive flood. Demonically, Indra thought himself to be the all-powerful Supreme Personality. Just see how the false ego and the material nature can illusion even a great, powerful demigod who is subordinate to Krishna and make them think, oh, no, you are the all-powerful. Yeah. So, when demons become very powerful, they defy the Supreme Controller, personality of Godhead. Indra, though not a demon, he was puffed up by his material position and he wanted to challenge the Supreme Controller. He thought himself, at least for the time being, as powerful as Krishna. Imagine that. Indra said, just see the impudence of the inhabitants of Vrindavan. They are simply inhabitants of the forest, but being infatuated with their friend Krishna, who is nothing but an ordinary human being, they have dared to defy the demigods. Krishna has declared in the Bhagavad Gita that the worshippers of the demigods are not very intelligent. He has also declared that one has to give up all kinds of worship and simply concentrate on Krishna consciousness. Krishna's invoking the anger of Indra and later on chastising him is a clear indication to his devotee that those who are engaged in Krishna consciousness have no need to worship any demigod, even if it is found that the demigod has become angry. Krishna gives his devotees all protection, and they should completely depend on his mercy. So Indra cursed the action of the inhabitants of Vrindavan, and he said, by defying the authority of the demigods, the inhabitants of Vrindavan will suffer in material existence. Having neglected the sacrifice to the demigods, they cannot cross over the impediments of the ocean of material miseries. Indra further declared, these cowherd men in Vrindavan have neglected my authority on the advice of this talkative boy who is known as Krishna. He is nothing but a child, and by believing this child, they have enraged me. Thus, he ordered the Samvartaka cloud to go and destroy the prosperity of Vrindavan. The men of Vrindavan, said Indra, have become too puffed up over their material opulence and their confidence in the presence of their tiny friend Krishna. He is simply talkative, childish, and unaware of the complete cosmic situation, although he is thinking himself very advanced in knowledge. Because they have taken Krishna so seriously, they must be punished. And so I have ordered the Samvartaka cloud to go there and inundate the place. They should be destroyed with their cows. So, whoa. Just see how much illusion. And so I'm just saying one last thing. You know, Srila Prabhupada, on one lecture I heard years ago, it always stuck with me. Krishna wanted to show Indra by his lifting Govardhana hill, right? And despite Indra's attempt with all of his power to destroy all the inhabitants of Vrindavan and everything, Krishna wanted to show Indra, hey Indra, you know how did he put it? How did Prabhupada put it? He said, to defeat you is simply the business of my little finger. And therefore, in the most beautiful artistic way, without any great effort, Krishna lifted up Govardhan, held it up with his little finger. All the cows, all the inhabitants of Vrindavan, everyone came underneath. And what did they do during that time period?
Looked at Krishna.
They had nothing but fun. Enjoyment, festivities, relishing Krishna's beauty. And finally, when Indra was just like completely depleted of all of his power and he just became so defeated, then all the clouds went away. And not one single blade of grass, Krishna examined after the storm, was harmed by Indra's inundation. But we know that Indra is a devotee. So when he finally came to apologize to Krishna, then Krishna also utilized him and Surabhi Devi, because Lord Brahma told Indra, you better bring Surabhi with you. Krishna is his heart is very soft for the cows. So he brought Surabhi along, And then there's that whole beautiful pastime of Govinda Kunda, yes. And that's where Indra apologized and glorified Krishna. And he said, henceforward, forevermore, you will be known as Govinda, the protector of all the cows and Vrindavan and all the inhabitants of Vrindavan. So that place is Govinda Kunda, where we go on the parikrama. And in that way, Krishna and the Govardhan Puja is one of the most sweet pastimes for all the Vaishnavas and for eternity. Everyone remembers Giridhari, the lifter of Govardhan Hill. Gaur Premanand. Jai Shri Shri Govardhana Puja Ki Jai. Giriraj Govardhana Ki Jai.